Welcome back to Newsmakers. My guest is Christine Prince, who is Chief Executive of Christchurch and Canterbury Tourism. We'll whip through a few other matters. First of all, environmental credentials. I think there was a recent regional visitor monitor survey that essentially gave a very big tick to our green credentials. How important are such matters, when it comes to perceptions?
I think particularly important for New Zealand and, kind of brand New Zealand with, proactively promoting 100% pure. But I think it's a position that New Zealand's got to evolve, develop and guard, and protect over coming years, that it will set us up extremely well in the longer term as a proposition, but we really need to start planning more, for that today. I think the recent Qualmark initiative, which has probably been going for about 12 months now, where it's added to the quality criteria for Qualmark in terms of benchmarking. There's green criteria as well, so you can actually get awarded, gold, silver or bronze. Right. And in fact, the region have done very well in terms of uptake, with a number of businesses being awarded at the gold level.
Sure. Just as one example of our positioning, I know, and you'll be obviously aware of this, Christchurch Airport has this carbon-free status, and I'm sure anyone who's arrived at Christchurch Airport will notice the signage, as they step off the plane. To the average Joe Blow, do you think it resonates with them?
I think that it is part of a sort of broader proposition that we need to offer. There is certainly what would be, I suppose traditionally considered more of a niche group of visitors that would have particular interest in that area. Yeah. But the reality is that that's very much broadening. Right. And people are very, aware of things, like recycling facilities, wastage, just noticing, in terms of like the transport that they're taking from A to B, whether there's litter anywhere, the likes of freedom camping, for example. People are a lot more conscious now about those things.
I must ask you about freedom camping because it's been a very lively debate in recent times. On the local front, of course, the City Council investigating ways to clamp down on, essentially overnight squatting in places like Kremlin Square. Do you think it's important that we don't allow that practice within the inner city?
Yeah, I think it's, if you take the broader issue, and as you say, there is a lot of debate at the moment, that one of the confusing things for our visitors at the moment is that there's not, really a sort of national or clearly defined policy. Yes. So you'll find great regional differences, and it must be actually quite tough to know what the particular laws and regulations are as you're travelling around. So I think that on a broader level we need to, look at getting a national statement and support businesses to obviously communicate that. You obviously in terms of, instances like Cramner Square and things, I mean, the reality that unfortunately, you do have some freedom campers that have been, leaving garbage around, and that's just not acceptable in any terms.
I noticed a comment from the head of the Motor Caravan Association a couple of weeks ago who says, quote, "Messy freedom campers who traipse around the country without toilets or self-contained facilities should be shot." Do you think we have a problem with the proliferation of camper vans that don't have the self-contained facilities? I don't want to name any particular brands, but I'm sure you're aware of some of them, compared to the more conventional camper van that is very much self-contained. I'm just wondering if there is going to be a legislative response to this.
I think whether it's legislative, I mean, there certainly needs to be regulations, and there needs to be clear laws put out there, because the reality is, as I've stated at the moment, there isn't. Yeah. And so it's very difficult to enforce. Sure. But it is a problem that we have to recognise, and it's something that we need to deal with, certainly.
It would appear that under your watch, Christchurch and Canterbury is being positioned as a very serious player in the winter tourism market and as a ski destination in its own right. Would that be fair?
Oh, definitely. You know, one of the biggest things that I'm hoping for come June the 1st is that the heavens open and that we get masses and masses of snow. Because, you know, we have been out in the Australian market quite aggressively from early bird special time, late January, really promoting the region. We've got a number of partnerships with airlines. We've been working with all of the local ski areas. And, you know, we just really are focused on getting as good a winter as possible. I think it's about the ski, but it's also about that broader proposition of like what we would call soft ski. So we know that if we have a really good ski season, then the rest of the region benefits as well, and people will go off and do other things as well.
Looking to the short to medium term outlook on the tourism front, we've had a couple of hotels open up in the last few weeks, which is an encouraging sign. Do you think the tourism market generally is rebounding from the turmoil we've been through? Are things on the up?
I think that we've got some good positive signs now, and you know, over the long term we'll get some really good recovery. It won't be overnight, but you know, we are very fortunate to have the Rugby World Cup in our horizons now. It's only a year and a half out, so there'll be, you know, a really good opportunity to obviously build up through all of the PR. You know, with the Rugby World Cup, I think it's as much about the legacy and really sort of then having probably a step change in tourism numbers, you know, even after the Rugby World Cup.
Sure. What about new air links? I know there have been some reports of negotiations informally being undertaken with the likes of Air Asia. Do you think that is a distinct possibility that new air links will open up in the next year or two?
Well, certainly the airport are very focused in this area, and we absolutely fully support their initiatives. You know, with AirAsia X, I mean, they've been in discussions for a long time and put a lot of work into that.
Right.
It would be fantastic for the region if that comes off. You know, we're all very hopeful. You know, and that is just, you know, it's one of the examples. It's a great initiative by the airport, and they, you know, have a number of other opportunities that they're pursuing at the moment.
Fantastic. Well, it's a huge industry for us. Great to have you aboard. It's been, I think, 2.5 years between drinks. Far too long. Good to see you. Christine Prince from Christchurch Canterbury Tourism. In a moment, we'll give you the beginner's guide to the Leave No Trace program. Do stay with us.